for me, it was really important to come at this unapologetically and just really bold, and really because I just felt like we need to take up that space. So, like any business, there's no manual. Yeah. That's entrepreneurship. That's being a founder. You are literally every day flying by the seat of your pants. You have a plan, you have an idea, you have a hypothesis of where you think you can, really find your spot in this market. But every day is a test.
Welcome to the Prosperity Playground, the podcast where business meets energetics, strategy meets soul, and prosperity becomes inevitable. I'm your host, Anna Lozano, mom, founder, investor, mentor, and energetics in business expert. This is your weekly activation to rewire how you think and feel about wealth, success, and personal power, because it's not about working harder, it's about regulating deeper, aligning stronger, and receiving wider. You don't hustle for your future, you calibrate to your higher self. Join me weekly for high-level conversations with the world's most inspiring entrepreneurs, creators, and thought leaders. True prosperity isn't just about money. It's about alignment, freedom, expansion, and embodying your worth. Welcome to the playground. Let's build your most prosperous life. Welcome back to the Prosperity Playground podcast. Today I'm sitting down with Linda Biggs, the co-founder and CEO of Joni, Canada's period care brand. In this Behind the Brand episode, Linda takes us inside the real founder story behind Joni, from a serendipitous meeting at Whole Foods with her now co-founder to discovering the massive gap in a category that impacts millions of women, yet had been wildly under-innovated, underfunded, and under-discussed. We talk about what it actually takes to build a product-based business from the ground up, including finding the right manufacturing partners, creating a high-performance product, navigating retail, moving from DTC into major distribution, and building commercial solutions for schools, workplaces, universities, and public spaces. This conversation is such a powerful reminder that business is never just about business. It will test your resilience, stretch your leadership, expose your relationship with money, and ask you how to become the person who can hold the mission you've been called to build. This is a founder conversation, a product building conversation, and women and money conversation, and a beautiful reminder that when the right founder meets the right mission, an entire category can begin to change. Let us know what resonates as always, and of course, enjoy this conversation. Linda Biggs of Joni, welcome to the Prosperity Playground podcast. I'm so excited you are here with us today.
I'm so excited to chat.
So take us back to the very beginning. What was happening in your life when the idea of Joni landed for you?
Oh, well, so this was in 2020, end of 2019 and 2020. And I am a big believer in serendipitous moments and like the universe, you kind of, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. I had done a very corporate career prior to Joni. So I worked at, big accounting firms, large airlines. I have a computer science background, so that's where I've always focused on. Kind of got burnt out of that industry and then moved into startups, specifically working with women. And I was just really hungry for other female leadership around me. And so I did that for a bit. And I was actually on a break. So I had just left a recent organization that I was working with. I was kind of doing some consulting. And a mutual friend of my co-founder and I reached out and said, hey, listen, are you interested in meeting with this person? They're thinking about starting this company. And I don't know anything about this industry. Would you chat with them? And I, in full disclosure, thought my co-founder was a woman. I didn't even think about the possibility of him being a man. And so we met at Whole Foods and we just got to chatting. And two things that really nailed it for me was, one, he's from India. His mother and his sister raised him. He has a very incredible story about how he overcame incredible obstacles. He has 3 master's degrees. Like, it's just insane. And he's really passionate about women's health in this industry. And I saw my mother's an immigrant from Mexico. I saw the same struggle from our family. We waited in food bank lines when I was younger. Like, there is this element of, we have to work. I mean, everyone works hard for what they have, but we started from a different place. Yeah. And then the other part was, as a natural consumer, someone who menstruates every month, I was like, I realized that I had more connection to a water bottle company or my shoe brand than I did with any period care brand on the market. And I was like, why? Why is that? Why is this thing, this necessary evil? And, it comes down to like this stigma and the blue liquid and the women dancing through a field of flowers, a smile on their faces. There was just nothing that I felt was authentic. And so I really just felt this really deep need to create something that I thought was missing in the market with, Jayesh's background in product and pharmacology. And I just feel like pharmacology. And it was just a perfect coming together, and it was the right time. The universe was like, Linda, you're betting on you now, so off you go.
Wow. Now, did he already have this idea, or coming together at Whole Foods in that very meeting, the idea came together with through your conversation?
Yeah, so he was doing his final project for his master's at UVic. And one of the final projects was, create something, like come up with an idea. And so he was doing a lot of research in this space, and he saw a statistic that said 1 in 3 women under the age of 25 in Canada cannot afford period care. And it kind of floored him. He was like, I'm from India. Like, that's like, I expect it there, but Canada's a first world country. How is this a problem here? And the more he looked at it, the more he realized it was a systemic issue. So what he was looking at it from the lens of an impact side, and he connected the product side with the impact. What he was struggling with at the time when he was looking to launch the idea was a man in this field, not an end user, not a consumer. And so when we came together, he had just started the idea. He had a lot of the fundamentals ready to go, but until we came together, it wasn't fully officially launched. So I think the timing was just, we both took a leap on each other.
Wow. So also another element of curiosity here is you don't know each other. So how has been
Yeah.
this journey of you following your heart, following the serendipitous meeting? I call it
Yeah.
synchronicity. Working with someone, saying yes to this adventure, and you actually don't have a relationship background together.
Yeah, I feel like that's a bit of a blessing and a curse in a lot of ways. Like we obviously did our due diligence on each other. Victoria's a very small town. You get the scoop. You can't get away with much here without someone knowing about it. So,
Love that.
there was no like stay away. There was no red flags. I guess on either side, because he decided on it too. And so I just thought, well, what I looked for was, what kind of skill set does he have? What is his communication type? What is his working style? And can I see myself working with someone like that? And we had multiple meetings, and I really feel like I have, one of my core strengths is intuition, and a lot of times I ignore it. And this time I really leaned into it, and I thought, okay, I kind of did like, what's the worst that can happen? You bet on yourself. Like, what's the worst? It's going to be a learning experience no matter what. And I think looking back, it worked out really great because we didn't know each other. I've worked with friends and it didn't work out. You'd think you know someone, it really doesn't work out. And I think the reality is we both had to really learn to work together. And we were tested like in every way possible from every moment on, are we going to come together on this, or is this going to pull us apart? And we've been very lucky because we've heard horror stories on this, on the, co-founders, but we've been very lucky throughout it all that we've fundamentally really trust each other, really believe in what we're doing. And so we always find a way to come together. Yeah.
So good. It's such a key conversation because really when you're entering into a business partnership, you just really never know.
Oh, totally.
Right. And I come from a co-founder world, and it was a blessing in a way where we got to work on our zone of genius. And so we were very complementary co-founders, which made it for a wonderful 6-year experience. But also, when stress is high, when you're going through the motions of entrepreneurship, which really is a personal growth journey, you never really know. So, I want to keep diving deep into your story, but do you have one piece of advice for anyone listening who is possibly thinking about going into partnership, into a co-founder relationship, that maybe would be a key lesson from you?
Yeah, this is a marriage. This
Yeah.
is like as serious as a marriage. If you really want it to work, we have to look at it that way, and a commitment to each other. And nobody's perfect. And one way of doing it is not always the right way. And so I really just encourage people to look at it with from the most honest place they can. And if there's any type of hesitation, really try to work through that early, because that it will be the exact thing that will come up and flare up down the road if you don't address it early. So I just say treat it like a marriage and really think through it, because this is a long-term commitment to somebody else. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then follow that intuition. It's like any
Yeah.
relationship, friendship, partnership, marriage, anything that we enter where it's with someone else, like always trust yourself, trust your knowing. So you decide to get into this partnership, an incredible mission. It's absolutely insane to think the stats that you dropped at the beginning of period care, the conversation around it. When I was preparing for this interview, I was thinking about my own journey with this. And it
Mm,
wasn't really something that I was prepared for when I got my period.
mm,
It wasn't an open conversation in my home. I now have girls who are 8 and 10. I've had the
mm,
conversation with them every month.
mm,
They know when I'm moving through the cycle, why I'm more emotional, why I'm tired, why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. And I started this conversation with them when they were 6 and 8. And at first, of course,
mm.
it was a little bit of a shock, but I'm like, I wish I had that conversation when I was young, because I was so not prepared for it. And then
Yeah.
you have your first leak when you're in grade 6, 7, or 8. And it's like,
Hmm.
what do you do with this? No one was talking about it. Meanwhile, 51% of the population is bleeding. And then on top of that, we are also doing all the things men are doing and bleeding on top of it.
Hmm.
I'm like, why are we
Hmm.
not talking about this more? So
Yeah. Yeah.
take us
Women are
through
amazing.
the first key decisions you had to make. I really want to understand, because you don't come from this industry. And so it's like, you
Hmm.
have a product idea. What steps did you take to actually launch the product when we're looking at operations and marketing and finding the manufacturer and so forth? Take us through that behind the scenes.
Yeah. So I think founders undervalue being a natural consumer. So when you're a natural consumer, oftentimes, like, you know intuitively what you feel is missing. Oftentimes, especially with women, they're created the business because they felt that there was a gap in the market. And so their business is filling that gap for them. And so that really was the same with Joni. I don't come from a product background, a branding background, a marketing background, a sales background. That is not me. I have a computer science background. But what I felt deeply was, as a natural consumer, what is it that I want to see on the shelf? What kind of company would I get excited about supporting? And in a way that would make my daughters proud, in a way that made me, get up every day and feel really good about what I'm doing. And it's not just about, purpose washing or greenwashing, but actually doing things that we feel really make an impact. And so with everything we did, my co-founder did a lot of that, again, splitting the roles, because you cannot do everything,
Yeah.
at least not everything at the same time. And so we split the roles. He really lined up. That's what his passion is: the suppliers, manufacturers we work with, logistics. How are we getting this to the customer? All of those, like, operational pieces, especially the high quality product too. Whereas I was thinking more about, what does this brand represent? How are we supporting our customers? How is this end user interacting with this brand? And what does this brand mean to that end user? And honestly, there's no playbook for that. It comes from a place of, what you're birthing something from nothing. And so, you win sometimes and you lose sometimes. And for us, it was our core values. So we had 3 values that we still to this day, are our guiding light. So radical transparency. We really want to make sure that we're owning up and also letting people know the information that they need to make these critical decisions about their body. Unapologetically inclusive. So we talk about, women and menstruation, but the reality is that gender and, bodily function are 2 separate things. And, over 30% of the population menstruates. So not quite the 51%, but close. And we really want to make sure that there's an inclusive conversation for everyone.
Yeah.
Um, and just being, challenging the status quo. So we all know that this industry is so antiquated. Like, the fact that we had blue liquid until not too long ago. We actually couldn't say period on television until like the 90s. We still call it feminine hygiene. And that term in itself, it's a euphemism that has a crazy background story. I encourage people to look it up because it's, woman died essentially during the time when feminine hygiene, the euphemism was created. And so for me, it was really important to come at this unapologetically and just really bold, and really because I just felt like we need to take up that space. So it really isn't like any business, there's no manual. Yeah. That's entrepreneurship. That's being a founder. You are literally every day flying by the seat of your pants. You have a plan, you have an idea, you have a hypothesis of where you think you can, really find your spot in this market. But every day is a test. And sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. And so we just took it one day at a time. And I guess for us, the biggest signal, if you think about it as like, where's the noise versus signal? So you can make decisions. The biggest signal for us was when we actually had trouble raising money early on. Nobody would touch us. It was during COVID. There was a lot of reasons, but also being a period care brand at the time, they thought it was too niche. And so we actually did that's a whole different conversation. But
for those of you listening, I just like put my hand on my forehead. I'm like, what did you just say? Too niche?
Yeah, too niche. Okay. Yeah. 30% of the population. We're talking tens of millions. Anyway, a $27 billion industry. But again, a blessing and a curse. Challenges require us to pivot and move forward in different ways. We did a crowdfunding campaign, and it was that crowdfunding campaign that allowed us, like, it basically gave us a validation because we were hoping to raise a certain amount. We got double that. And so it was really validating for us, saying like consumers are looking for this. It's not just in our heads.
Wow. Okay. So first you were thinking possibly raising from investors. And
yes.
Then shifted based on the experience to crowdfunding. Fascinating. And
we did a small round early on because we don't come from money. We needed money to place an order for inventory. And so we did a small friends and family round. And then with the plan of, going and having and raising more money, but COVID really locked it down, everything, even banks. Like we couldn't get an increase to our credit card. We have, I think it was at the time, a $2,500 line of credit at our credit card. And that was it. We couldn't get any more. And so we really had to figure out how we were going to survive. And so we went to crowdfunding, and it was really, really successful for us.
Incredible. So I want to pause here and chat mindset. So there was just no chance this was going to close down. You are going to figure out a way to bring this to life, to reality.
Yeah, I mean, there were moments, I'm not going to lie, where, we had $12 in our bank account and we're like, we weren't paying ourselves. We were also working other jobs to put money back into Joni. And we're like, how are we going to make it another day, another week, another month? And does this matter enough? Do people care enough for us to continue this? Because it's not easy. And so it was just little moments that reminded us that, yes, take another step. And we had some breaks. We ended up getting one investor who was like, this is a no-brainer. And that let us survive another couple months. And then we had the front crowdfunding campaign where we launched double the amount of money that we thought we would. And that essentially has been all of our funding. We've gone non-dilutive grants. And then we really focused on revenue and actually giving our customers what they want, and not spend time raising money and focusing on that, but instead really being close to our community, close to our customers, and creating a product that they want to buy and just growing through revenue.
Incredible. Through the crowdfunding campaign, what are some things that you learned that the consumer is really looking for, that really defined your brand, but also the loyalty with your brand? Because they're saying, hey, we're looking for this, we want this, and it's what you're delivering. So there's that longevity. Also, it's something that you purchase every single month. It's a repeatable product, which is incredible.
Yeah, exactly. It came down to basically what I felt I was missing in the market. So oftentimes you walk down the period care aisle and you've got all of the conventional brands that are mostly plastic based, and their pricing is good to bargain. It depends on what you're looking for. But I wanted something that was really high quality. But when you walk to the organic section of the aisle, it was just like to granola. Like it was
Yes.
and the studies that we said were like, people didn't necessarily trust the organic that would work. And so are you going to
Work.
have no chemicals, but you're still going to have leaks? Like, why do you have to choose between one or the other? And so I really wanted to create something that had both, that was right in the middle. We had none of the toxic chemicals. We didn't have any petroleum based plastics that we had, but we had a product that was almost more significant than the conventional products because of the layers and what the high quality materials that we were looking at. And so that's essentially what we focused on. And that was our hypothesis. Would other people want that? And the signal we got early on was yes, but the crowdfunding campaign really gave us a signal in a bigger way that was like, we are so hungry for this. This is what I've been missing in the market. We are absolutely keen on having that. And so oftentimes it's not an overly complicated solution. Oftentimes it's just listening. And, women's health is such an underserved market. And, we've been putting up with a lot of the stuff we've been putting up with just because, it's been a very antiquated, there's not a lot of innovation in this market. And now more and more people are seeing, the economy, and women have disposable income and they have opinions and they want certain things, and there's an opportunity there. So we're now seeing more and more of that coming. But, 6 years ago, this was new. We were the first Canadian disposable period care brand on retail shelves. There was no other Canadian brand. And that's important because you're creating something for a community. You should live in that community, be part of that community, and give back to that community. And so when I was looking down the aisle, not only did I want a product that I really resonated with, but I wanted a product where I knew that the, folks understood what my community was like.
Wow. It's just mind blowing that this was 6 years ago. It really
Right?
is. It's just like this entire conversation is mind blowing. Like if we were talking 50 years ago, I'd be like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
But we're talking only 6 years ago. And I'm just so happy that it was you that was called into this vision, mission, and purpose, because it really does come down to founder when you're dealing with, that first rejection or, all the struggles that you went through, plus insert a global pandemic. There could have been a founder that would have just let it go, because it is a lot of stress. It is a lot of, but if you're meant for something, then you're meant for something. So take us through. So now you have an 8-figure business. Take us through some of the journey that has led to your growth, because it is quick growth. If we look at it, DTC, you also have retailers, consumer based, 6 years on the market. Like this is an incredible journey. So share some of your wins, share some of your success stories. And I'd also love for you to share some of your give back, because that's such a big part of your brand.
Yeah. First off, 6 years feels like a blink of an eye, but also feels very long.
For sure. For the founder. Absolutely.
I get it. Like it's, but we're still in, that like early stage. Like we're not startup, but we're definitely scale up, and we're not an established business after 6 years. But so for us, it was, we launched as a direct to consumer brand. And at the time, the playbook for D2C was great, launched a D2C company, grow significantly, raise some money, valuations were great. And that quickly changed. And COVID changed everything. Meta changed their algorithm. There was a lot of learnings there about, you're not really owning your business, as all of you have is like a Meta business. They can switch the algorithm at any time, and now you're at the mercy of what they do. And so we were competing with some big players, and we didn't have deep pockets. So we quickly realized, okay, D2C is one channel, but retail is definitely another channel. Retail, if you know the industry, it's old school. It takes time. You got to, pitch to the grocery store and the buyer. And then, maybe a year later you show up on shelf, but they're bigger. Once you're there, you can really drive brand awareness. And so we started slowly in Victoria, in our market with a local, distributor. And then we kind of tested our pricing and to see what worked well. And then we went to a bigger distributor, and they saw our growth with their first one. And so they accepted us, and then we grew to more stores. And I think the big break on the retail side for us was kind of the message we've been telling buyers all along. Like at the time, we're the only Canadian period care brand. Like you need to bring a Canadian option. And we really felt a lot of pushback to that. A lot of these buyers are not natural consumers. So they're like, why do we need another option, like no. And so we would get a lot of no's. And we did have some buyers who saw the strategy with it, and they were like, absolutely, that's crazy, and brought us on, London Drugs being part of that, Whole Foods being part of that, and that helped us grow. But recently a win was, the reality with what's happening with Canada and our neighbor, and how, we really have to be sovereign in a lot of the things that we're looking at, and Buy Canada is a really important piece. And so that really helped kind of shift the mindset for some of these buyers, and being like, oh yeah, this is a category we have no Canadian period brands in. Let's talk to Joni again. And so then it was just like, all of a sudden everyone was like, let's bring Joni in on their shelves. And so again, timing, like luck, we can't control these external factors, but we knew wholeheartedly it was right for Canadians. And so we just had to get them on board. And I think our biggest win, and like our biggest bet and biggest risk, was us creating Joni commercial dispensers. Mm-hmm. Because what we saw was, there's one thing to be a consumer brand and to provide this product to consumers, but it's also a very unique product in that we use it just like toilet paper in various locations. We use it at work, we use it at school, we use it at our offices. And so we wanted to meet the consumer where they were, but all of the dispensers on the market, I mean, everyone who menstruates have had an experience with a dispenser. You either don't have the right change, it's empty, or it's broken, or they don't have one at all. And now what are you using? Bundles of toilet paper? And I'm perimenopausal. I can tell you that's not going to last me. By the time I walk out of the washroom, it will be in my pants. So like the infrastructure wasn't there, and they were all paid. So we thought, well, I feel like we could do better. Like we could develop something so much better that was on the market. And we did. And so we launched our Model V dispenser last year. It's the world's first IoT period care dispenser. It sounds kind of wild, but if you think about the facility space, everything is being tracked. The water usage, the paper usage, the labor costs, the visitors. You go to the airport and you have to hit the happy or sad, button just to let them know if they're happy with the experience. Everything except period care. It was a total oversight. And now that more and more regulations are happening, so federally regulated organizations have to provide their workers with pads and tampons. And we're seeing what's happening in Manitoba. They're requiring pads and tampons to be in every public space. So these regulations are changing, but there is no infrastructure to support it. And so we've created that infrastructure. And so we've rolled out to universities, multiple campuses. And what our dispensers allow them to do is they don't have to go to each dispenser to see if it's full or empty. They see it on a back end, like a SaaS-based tech system, like the rest of the stuff they're monitoring, and be like, oh, Joni dispenser XYZ in this campus needs to be refilled. Let's go refill it, which is great for them. It reduces labor costs. So we're checking that box, but it's also great for the end consumer because then they have the product that they need. So we were looking at creating solutions in a way that was slightly different than what the standard industry had now. And I think those were our big wins, kind of taking the bet on some of these things we felt, again, was missing, and we felt like we could do a better job with it. And that has drastically improved or helped us grow significantly.
Wow, incredible. Yeah, I'm curious on the back end, like what did that decision do for your business over the last year?
It was a lot of commitment to that research and development. Wow. A lot of conversations with our consumer. We essentially brought in a new customer, so facility management teams who are now making decisions about this. So what is it? What are their pain points, and how do we help them solve for it? Like jamming dispensers are one of them. We wouldn't have known that unless we had a conversation with them. So when we went to build this and innovate, we're like, okay, well, part of the solution has to be it's easy to fill. It holds a lot of pads and tampons, so it doesn't empty quickly. It doesn't jam. So the dispenser mechanism needs to be of high quality. And so these are all things we would have no idea about unless we talked to our customer. And so for us, it was the pivots really come from the signal that we see, the opportunities that we see in the market, because we feel that we could do a better job, but it also aligns with our mission. So everything has to align with our mission.
Yes.
Which incredible. Is, menstrual equity in Canada and the US is a big one for us.
Wow. So switching gears to you as the founder, what are some of the, identity shifts, mindset shifts, belief system shifts that you had to work through to be able to hold this magnitude of a vision, mission, purpose, and obviously at the same time growing something that, is an eight-figure that's company that's in the works. So take us a little bit through that and your own growth journey.
Yeah, I mean, you said earlier, Anna, that it's such a personal growth. Like being a founder is just a journey of personal growth. It really is. It will push you in all the soft areas and really challenge you to look at some of the things you've been not entirely wanting to. Might be sore spots. So there's there definitely was that. I look at it really forced me to look at what my triggers were and why they were triggers and what that meant for me. And I think an important mindset shift for me and Jayesh too, but we come from very challenging, difficult childhoods, and we used there was a survival mode to us, and that survival mode has allowed us to do what we've done to date. And that's great, being really responsive, hyper independent, figuring things out, like a lot of things that people have as a survival mechanism from childhood. But the realization is what got you here is not going to get you there.
Yeah.
And so when you're shifting, especially as your company grows, it really challenges you as a person to really look at that, especially when you're in a leadership role. And what does that mean for your team? And your shift is, how am I supporting my team? It's not just me anymore. It's not like, how am I going to survive another day? It's, how am I going to help this team really thrive? And how is the team really going to help us drive our mission forward? And it's a journey. I really believe in coaching. And so, like my coach helps me with that. And I just think that was a big shift. This is kind of the letting go of all the survival characteristics that you had to get you here. And not to say you have to throw them away. Thank them for, I'm thanking them every day for thank you that the tiger's not chasing me. I'm okay. Like, it's okay. Take a breath and moving into a place that provides me with a little bit more space to breathe, to be creative, to really support other people, to help them do their best job. And that's been wonderful, but also personally, a mindset shift and a challenge for me and my growth.
My gosh, so good. This is such a powerful conversation. As I was preparing with Claude for this interview, Claude's like, "How deep do you want to go on spirituality and
deep,
nervous system?"
So deep, yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I know who I can go deep with, but because we've never met, and it was fascinating because how we got connected is, again, me and AI were working together, and I was like, I want to know who are the top 50 female-founded Canadian brands, and you were on that list. And so as I started going through the list for the behind the brand episodes, you were one of the women that I reached out to. So I'm like, Claude, I actually don't know because we don't know each other. So I don't know how deep I can go, but I love that you've taken us here because this is so relevant. So most of us come with some sort of, all of us come with programming and deep-rooted belief systems and subconscious and nervous system. And so for me, I have an immigrant story. I came to Canada at 6 years old, and it was my trauma that brought me success. But what you just said was gold, is like there comes a point where you can no longer operate from that space, from that survival mechanism. And so I'd love to just dive a smudge deeper as to so you mentioned you have a coach. What are some other things that you've practiced, rituals, habits, things that you've integrated into your life that have supported you on this? Because when we move from survival into expansion, there's this piece where it's extreme discomfort, because high-powered women, oftentimes we just don't know how. And so we have to move through discomfort until we operate from a new operating system.
Yeah.
in our nervous system, in our mindset, physically, mentally, spiritually, all of it. So what has really supported you in this next version that you're stepping into?
Yeah, great question. I love it. Let's this great question. I think for me, the biggest thing has been letting go of this narrative that productivity is how I measure my success.
Yeah.
And productivity is, and every founder has this. You're in back-to-back meetings for hours and hours of the day, most of the day. And then you do your work at night and you're just constantly busy. And as much as you might not, like it, or, you're like, oh, I wish I can get to a point where we're not doing that. It's an adrenaline rush.
It is.
And
It's an
you don't
addiction.
realize it is. You don't realize that you kind of get into this habit of filling things up because that's what you feel is productive and what's going to move the needle forward. The problem is you get to a certain stage in your business where that actually is going to hurt your business. And
Yes.
it was like it's when my coach, like any coach, they really hold the mirror up and say, like, what is the best and highest use of your time? Because where I thought the doing, and it is like there's still lots of doing,
Yeah.
but the doing is not necessarily it. It takes a different form. But that different form for me felt almost like being lazy,
Yes.
or like not holding up my part of the bargain with the team, or I was like, it's too easy. And when I said that, my coach was like, that's exactly what it should feel like. And like my mind kind of blew because I was like, wait a second, what? And the more I lean into that part, the more I realize that's where my best ideas come from. That's when my best leadership qualities come from. That's where like all the good things in my life have come from. And the reality is too is the areas that I'm letting go of are somebody else's best areas. And so that's what they want to pick up and run with. And so it's not like I'm dumping all of this terrible stuff on them. It's that I'm allowing for more growth because of that. That has been probably the hardest for me because I very much do measure myself on my ability to produce and do and have that. And so taking that step back has been it feels luxurious, but also very hard mentally to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is an and conversation. There comes a
Yeah.
point, so I speak a lot about this because I sold our product-based company end of 2022, where
Mm,
the not doing is what actually created the danger slash lack of safety for me
mm,
because I actually did not know how not to do. And when we
mm-hmm,
talk about, I think you described it perfectly, like it's not that we're rebelling against doing. When we're
mm-hmm,
doing the tasks that are meant for us as leader CEO, that's passion fueling. It's moving the business
mm-hmm,
forward, but it's that addiction where you're addicted to any kind of doing because it's creating what you said, the dopamine hit, and it's tied to our worth. And especially,
yeah.
you have a male co-founder. I don't know what that dynamic looks like, but we have very different way of working, and women have traditionally seen the evidence of success is more so working like, and I look at corporate, working like a man because there's only one woman at the table.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
so many of us are moving through this where we actually start to feel this sense of safety in our nervous systems with different forms of doing, and spaciousness starts to feel good where at first
Mm-hmm,
it's so unfamiliar it feels
mm-hmm.
scary. And so thank you for bringing this to the table. And I know the listeners of this podcast are women who are high powered, they're successful, and so many of us are moving through this transition to a different way of operating, through a different way of being in leadership roles. And I know through my own experience that when we allow the space, it's like you said, the creativity, the intuition, the downloads, all the magical things drop in for the very
Yeah.
things that we can then act on that will be the next multi-million dollar ideas. Because if
Mm,
we're done,
yeah.
if we're just stuck in the doing just to do, there's no creativity in that. So
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I think that it doesn't hurt that I'm in, perimenopausal time of my life. And I think it's interesting because there's also a lot of challenges and, reflection when it comes to that and your body changing and, what worked for you now before doesn't work for you now. And it's all kind of coming together at the same time. But I think it's also a very powerful thing for women to go through and to really be unapologetic about what do I want? I think so often we can't actually answer that question in an honest way without the shoulds or the influence that we are conditioned to have. And it took me probably a good year to truly answer that question for me, honestly. And when you get to that place, it almost feels like guilty. You feel like, oh, but how, like, who am I to think?
Yeah.
Like, who am I to ask for that? And I just really encourage women to really lean into that because we've been so conditioned to not want or
Yes.
like what we want is selfish or we feel guilty about it. And I think the more we lean into it and really unapologetically go to that place of like, I want this and these are the things I want to do to get there, and I do not have to burn myself out to get there. I think it's so powerful, and I really just want to see more female founders do that. You asked about Jayesh and our relationship, and I think I'm actually really grateful. I mean, I have a fantastically supportive husband. He's wonderful. He's a feminist like I am, and understands the challenges that we work with and the double standard. But I think what works well is our transparency to each other. And when I'm having a hard day, I'm open about it. I don't hide it. There's tears that come, and and he's not necessarily having a bad day, and he supports me. And then when he has a bad day, I'm fine. And it's been a really great dynamic that way because different things impact us. And so I feel really grateful for that.
Oh, incredible. What a good conversation. I'm so curious, is there anything else that you'd love to add for the listeners? Because I'm going to move us into some rapid fire, but is there something that we didn't touch upon that we missed? What are you most excited about in the near future with yourself, with your brand?
Yeah, I'm super excited to bring on a leadership team. So, talking about handing things off to people who are fantastic and are really going to help us build Joni. And we're at a position where we can do that. And I'm really excited for the people who are on our team and they're excited about our mission. And so that's what I'm just super focused on and really excited about over the next little bit.
I love that. I love that so much. All right. Are you ready for some rapid fire?
Let's do it.
All right. So if you had to rebuild Joni from scratch tomorrow, knowing what you know today, what's the first move you'd make?
Oh, these are rapid fire. I don't know if I would change it. I honestly feel like we learn from our mistakes. I think I would vet our money. I would vet the money that we take early on because money is energy. And I would make sure that we only take the money from the energy that we want.
Oh, as I'm going in for a raise right now behind the scenes.
Yes.
Like phenomenal response. So good. What is one belief you had to dismantle about money to be able to receive at the level that you're at right now?
That there was scarcity. And really, really highly encourage people to read The Trauma of Money. If you come from a place of scarcity with money, that really helps you unblock those beliefs. And not that there's going to be a cash flow coming in right after that, but it really helps you move into that next level in your relationship with money.
I've read so many books around money, energy of money, happy pocket full of money. And that is one book I've never heard of. So I will add it to the show notes.
It's a good one.
So good. What's one mic drop lesson from building a product-based business that every founder listening needs to hear right now?
You're never going to get it right the first time. You think you are, whether that's packaging, shipping, whatever it is, you're going to learn from it. So look at it like an evolution. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself crazy.
So good. What do you want Joni to be known for 10 years from today?
I want Joni to be an iconic brand that people recognize when it comes to their menstrual health.
Beautiful. Who would you love to have brunch with?
Ooh, I kind of always thought it'd be great to have brunch with Oprah Winfrey. I feel like she has such a cool story and like she's such a powerhouse. And I think that'd be kind of fun.
Totally. I agree. Do you play pickleball?
I do. I love it. Yes.
Yay!
Yes.
So I'm launching a pickleball brand, but every founder or every guest, I swear 95% are, no, but I should try. So I'm so happy to hear this.
What? Okay, so I highly encourage everyone to try it because you will be amazed at how fun it is. It's not like tennis at all. And I've played tennis, not well, but I've played it. It's so easy to pick up and have so much fun with. I love that. I'm excited for your brand. Tell me more after this. Yeah.
This is so good. We're going to have to play. And thank you for that little advertisement about the industry.
Yeah.
And finally, what is your definition of prosperity?
So I have this mantra where it's abundance with health, abundance with love, and abundance with wealth. And I say that over and over again. And that's just me, you have to see it to be it. So that's what I'm building for myself.
So beautiful. And where can everybody find you?
So Joni is available at getjoni.com. We're available at amazon.ca, and we'll be launching on .com soon. Retailers like Whole Foods, London Drugs, Walmart, we just launched nationally in Canada, across the country, and in public spaces with our Joni dispensers. So highly encourage, if people are we have either terrible dispensers that don't work, or they're in a public space that needs that, Joni Commercial Solutions can be that for you. And it's really not expensive and can really innovate and create spaces that are for everyone.
Incredible. Linda Biggs, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me on today's episode of the Prosperity Playground podcast. If this conversation sparked something in you, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts so you never miss your weekly activation. If you enjoyed the conversation, please rate and review. Your feedback helps us reach more souls just like you who are ready to calibrate to their most prosperous life. Know someone who needs this frequency boost? Share the episode to Instagram and tag me at _Anna Lozano so we can grow our energetically aligned community together. And please remember, true prosperity is about alignment, freedom, expansion, and embodying your worth. Start today. I'm Anna Lozano, and this is the Prosperity Playground. See you on the next activation.